Part 11. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 102. Yes. The ancestors got the wind forever in the legend of the ancestors, and got the essence of the wind from the plane of the wind, and cast this epic weapon, the popularity of the king. From then on, we are members of the Bonaparte family. Whether or not you awaken the blood power, there is an extraordinary affinity with the wind element. Natalia passed the family pass. So what is the feeling of walking with the wind? Meryl asked curiously. She did not awaken the family's blood, and did not practice to master the degree of flight. That's a personal experience. Natalia took out the popularity of the King of the Sword. This epic sword is light blue, and the blade looks like an invisible shape, as if it will disappear in the wind at any time. Missy drives the blood force, and her left hand tightens her sister's thin waist. For a moment, the two men are on the wind and wandering in the sky nearly 100 meters high. The wind above the sky is much stronger than the ground, but there is an invisible barrier around the body of the sisters to keep the night wind out. Looking around, the blue light of the moonlight shines like the giant sleeping in the night. The entire city of Ajaccio is vivid, and you can even see the lighthouse in the distant harbor. Walk with the wind, swim freely. Natalia slightly released the protection, let the breeze blow to her sister. It's really a wonderful night view. Is this the power of the wind? Thank you, sister. I feel it. Meryl closed her eyes and began to feel the true atmosphere of this wind. Natalia looked down at the girl in her arms, and she was even younger than herself. It seemed to be weak and cute to the extreme. This is my sister. A sister who was forced to leave the warm home for 7 years. Her eyes are much softer. After a long time, the entire city of Ajaccio seemed to be in a deep sleep. Meryl finally opened her beautiful eyes and said softly, "Sister, take me down." The two fell in the back garden. Meryl asked, "I feel the atmosphere of the wind. My favorite is this feeling of freedom. Everything is moving, my sister." Natalia pondered for a moment, her hands unknowingly tight. Sister has his own persistence and responsibility. I am afraid I can't be as free as Meryl. But my sister will guard you and let you not being overwhelmed by this worldly responsibility, to pursue the other side of the dream. Having said that, Natalia clenched her sister's hand as if she had delivered her dreams. Don't worry about my sister. I won't let you down. Meryl showed a confident smile on her face. Temporarily set the design of the arcane missile staff aside. After Ziwei completed his thoughts on the idea of the meditation, he began to design a 3-day enrollment test. After getting news about her mentality from Mrs. Winschell, Ziwei finally understood why someone could enter the state of meditation and perceive magical elements, but most people could not. The key is spiritual power. Only with enough mental strength can you truly enter the state of meditation. But in fact, there is a way to improve your mental strength. That is to say, if you have enough patience and abundant resources, even a pile can pile up an ordinary person into a formal magician. It's just that the resources consumed are too expensive for a qualified person, and many of them are still not available for money. Thinking of this, Ziwei not only did not disappoint, but gave birth to a feeling of excitement. What does this mean? This means that the age of arcane is not far away. When everyone can learn magic, everyone can become a real magician, then how can the arcane not prosper? Open a real arcane age on the continent of Orient, let the radiance of arcane shine through the world. This is your mission and pursuit. After the meditation, the next step is elemental affinity. Almost all the roots of magic are inseparable from the 4 elements of fire and feng shui. How can the element affinity test? Ziwei arranged all the methods he could think of, and finally selected the arcane crystal that had consumed energy. These arcane crystals, which consume the inner energy, have not been destroyed. Instead, they have become an empty container. Ziwei has tried to instill the magic into it, and it can be stored stably. In the eyes of 11 Wei, the light flashed and he did not hesitate to move his hand. After the two magical moments, a new magical object is formed. This is a transparent arc of long arcane crystal material, with a thin seam in the middle. There is a sensing device at the end of the magic wand, engraved with the Detect Magic spell model. When the user senses the magic elements in the air, they can display these magical lights and divide them into 4 colors. Ziwei, who had completed the preparatory work for the students, went to sleep. The next morning, he went to find the first apostle, Meryl, under his door. "This is my personal sentiment, I hope to help you," Ziwei handed the thin booklet to Meryl. The young girl cautiously closed up, her face with a big smile. "Xavier brother, I have already felt the breath of the wind with my sister's help yesterday. I think I can start trying today. After 3 days, Ziwei will leave Corsica and return to the tower. He can only default to this situation. I will guard you." Elena's blessing spell Silver of the Moon is in the hand, and Ziwei's heart is also more emboldened. If you can't see the situation, Hiplin will interrupt the process of deduction. Even if there is trauma, it can be cured. Meryl seriously read the notes of Ziwei and closed her eyes for a long time. She finally opened her eyes. "You can start." "Hey, how are you in my room?" Natalia lay down on the soft bed, and the whole person was paved into a big character. "An annoying guy has been pestering me. I have to be afraid of a slap in the face of his hemp waist. I can't help it. It is the second son of the Viscount Bonifat. He is really courageous, and dare to launch an offensive to your sister." Meryl smiled. "What do you mean?" Natalia slammed the pillow onto Meryl's head, but when it was dropped, it was very soft, apparently just a play between the sisters. Meryl is trying to fight back, but she suddenly sees the gentle look of Xavier. She quickly sat up straight and said, "Don't make trouble with you, I want to start meditating." 11 Wei sat in front of Meryl, and the mental force was ready to sense the state of Meryl Lake. When everything was ready, he nodded lightly. Meryl took a deep breath and closed her eyes into a state of meditation. After the transformation of the tide lake thoughts, the heart of the lake has risen and fallen, but it is only a bay. It is not a sea. Welcome to the Readers to Read, the latest, fastest, the most fire. The serialized works are all available at mobile users. Please read. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 103. Meryl reminisced about the breath of the wind above the sky last night, emptying her heart and letting her soul slowly follow it. This is a crucial moment. If Meryl can't empty the mind, then it can't be the same frequency. If it is completely empty, it will lose itself and naturally it will not succeed. Only by venting the mind while maintaining a deep sigh in the depths of the soul can we control the changes in the heart of the lake and deduct the thoughts of the mind. What makes Ziwei happy is that Meryl is really successful. When she matched the soul with the perfect atmosphere and the wind of the unruly, she kept her own sobriety and turned it into a petrel in the heart of the lake. Yes, it was Ziwei who helped Meryl to make a deep meditation when she recited Hin, and she turned into a petrel. The wind comes from afar, boasting the whole heart lake. The wind blew everything, rolled up the tidal bay, turned into a storm. It was a storm that covered the sun. The whole heart lake seemed to boil and began to change to another form. Meryl's cheeks slowly lost their blood, and the granules of sweat continued to ooze. Although Ziwei did not know what was happening when he was deducing the thoughts, he did a lot of steady efforts for his physical level compared to 0 at that time. "What's the situation? How is Meryl?" Natalia naturally saw that her sister's situation seemed to be very bad. Ziwei did not respond, but extended his right hand and swayed the silver moon again. The glory of Yunyu infiltrated Meryl's pale skin and entered her heart lake. The barriers to the heart of the lake seemed to have stabilized, and changes in the heart of the lake no longer affect the brain. Meryl's face gradually returned to ruddy, and her breathing was again stable. But there is only one thing that Ziwei can help. Next, I will look at Meryl's own efforts. The situation continued to be repeated, and Ziwei also patiently waited, guarded, and treated the girl's subtle damage with the brilliance of Silver Moon at the moment of need. After 4 consecutive silver moons in Ziwei, Meryl opened his eyes when the 12th magic time was approaching at noon. At this moment, her pupil showed a faint cyan color, as if there was an endless wind flowing in her eyes, and the whole person's momentum seemed to be like a whirlwind. Ziwei nodded with satisfaction, and Meryl was worthy of the great advantage of the Bonaparte family's blood in the elemental affinity of the wind, and successfully promoted the idea of belonging to the wind. Her current abnormal situation is only because she has not completely transformed the heart lake into a new idea, but it only needs water grinding. Xavier brother, I succeeded. The smile on Meryl's face was brilliant to the extreme, like a fireworks. My heart lake will become an endless storm, and Hin will fly freely in it. Obviously, Meryl's deductive elements of the wind are so perfect that they can be compared with the flames of Ziwei's deduction. She left the symbol of Hin, the elf of the wind, in the heart of the lake. You are a little guy with no conscience. Is there any sister in my eyes? No sister. I took you to heaven yesterday. Can you do it? Natalia has been informed of the general situation from Ziwei. Ramp. Sister, people are wrong. Meryl ran over to Natalia, apologizing with her cute voice and expression. Natalia was satisfied with her eyes and a very enjoyable look. 11 Wei also showed a smile, the sisters of the Bonaparte family, looking really pleasing. Missy, I think there are still some things to do next. Seeing that the two men can go to the dark, Ziwei finally couldn't help but interrupt the warm time between the two sisters. It's time for me to come. Perform the contract and complete the processing of the first metal sharpener weapon. Also, check the preparations for the return of the ship and cargo on Caprea Island. Natalia slammed her head and seemed to think of something. She quickly took a file of gold and red ribbon from the bag thrown into the table and handed it to Ziwei. Ziwei took a look at it, but it was a document of honor signed by Charles Wang of France. Even the signature and the coat of arms were all available, but it was still blank in the name of the person and the land. Developing the Cavaliers, Ziwei asked inexplicably. Yes. It is to open up the Cavaliers. This is an honor document signed by the king himself, and is awarded to those brave who have opened up the land for France. This document is quite precious. The ancestor of the Marquis of Cadillac now 100 years ago, it was a pioneering knight, Natalia explained. My father has already investigated it. Although the Baron of Capra was once a vassal of the Kingdom of Iton, but 80 years ago, the old Itonli after the kingdom collapsed and the new kingdom was re-established, the Capra family did not swear allegiance to the new king. Now that the Capra family has no hesitation, Caprea has become a land of nowhere. As long as you are signed the name on the document, you will become a pioneering knight who is personally endorsed by the King of France. Your rule on Caprea will be unquestionable. And with your future territory expand, your title can also be promoted. This is really a gift, Ziwei said with emotion. In this world of swords and magic, every aristocratic ancestor was once wide, and the long history and blood heritage allowed them to have enough cards. In this case, the difficulty of being promoted to the title is far more difficult than the imagination of ordinary people, and it usually takes several generations of unremitting efforts to make it possible. However, the development of the knight is a special case outside the rules. As long as you have the ability to resist the land of no ownership, you can get the approval of the king. From then on, whether it is secular or legal, Ziwei will have sovereignty over Caprea. This is the real gift. Because you saved the most precious little princess of the Bonaparte family, Miss Natalia said, the Bonaparte family never owes a friend. Very good. Thanks to the Bonaparte family for your kindness. I will accept it. Ziwei signed his name in the blank of this document. Name, Civi Frost, Territory, Caprea Island. The latter is the transliteration of the original Lin Elf language of its own surname, and it can be regarded as a memorial to the past life. When the contract was reached, The whole instrument suddenly evoked golden brilliance, sparkling, but not hot. Now, this instrument is officially in force. The aristocratic coat of arms in Parley should have inscribed a copy of this document. Natalia showed a smile on her face. Congratulations, Civi Floss Special Night. Welcome to the readers to read. The latest, fastest, most popular serial works are available at mobile users. Please read. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 104. Zai Wei is now riding with Natalia and heading to the Bonaparte family's territory near the Zhangzi Mountains. The Renaissance Knights of the Bonaparte family are stationed in a newly built town in this newly developed territory. Last year, I presided over the crusade against the Zhangji mountain trolls, and annihilated more than 30 goblin tribes, opened up thousands of hectares of land, and sealed out a total of 80 knights. We have this road and 2 sides the villages are just new. Natalia smiled and explained to Zai Wei that on the way, whether it was busy farmers in the fields or residents in the village, they desperately waved to Natalia to express their love and respect for Missy in this way. Obviously, this young lady has a real feat. She has united a large number of followers and supporters with her own martial arts and rewards and punishments. I can easily know how many people in the Knights of the Swift Wind. Zai Wei is riding a 4-year-old maroon mare, very gentle. At present, there are 354 official members of the Real Knight or above, counting on the apprenticeship and apprenticeship. The total number is about 2,400. Our Bonaparte Swift Wind Knight is the 7th largest in the kingdom. The Knights, Natalia has a very glorious look, the high-pitched forehead is high, and the sun shines to reflect the brilliant light. Do you need to raise such a large-scale knights? Every real knight needs to start from an apprentice. After years of hard work, he can really promote the cavaliers. Whether it is a war horse or a sword armor is a big investment. Of course. So now we are going to open up a business road. Corsica is located above the western Golden Sea. Ajaccio port is also a natural harbor. As long as it can develop marine trade, money naturally comes like water. When Natalia talked about military affairs, her eyes sparkled. Obviously this is what she is most interested in, so under my impetus, the family just purchased the Olivier from the French Royal Fleet. This ship it has only been launched for 5 years, far from the retirement period. Only the Holy Norman Empire and the northern city-state of Italy have almost monopolized the trade of the entire Golden Sea. There are also a large number of pirates raging in the Golden Sea, so the route is also a hard challenge. Speaking, the sea-hungry wolf has suffered such a big loss. Is there anything wrong? At least there is no clear move at the moment, either in the dark, or not yet reacting. Natalia had a war in her eyes. I hope they will hurry to find them. I want to take this. The pirates flocked to the water and made a route from the group of thieves. After about 2 magics, the group finally arrived at the town of Koro, the resident of the Swift Wind Knights. The houses here are very new. The whole town is almost a big barracks. The residents are not soldiers or family members. What? A case of weapon armor theft. What thief dared to steal from the military camp? When Eric, the great knight in the town of Koro, came to sue, Natalia suddenly raised her tone. Zai Wei followed the arsenal. Now he has been heavily guarded. Eric Knight said with a heavy face. The deputy head of the group was the first to be stolen from the day before yesterday. At that time, there were about 5 armor, lost 23 knight swords. Damn, this is what we just built to supply the knights' new knights. Natalia walked a little irritatedly. Find those thieves? Weapon armor is not a good thing to take away. Eric began to sweat on his forehead. The deputy head of the group, I have been inspected. All the suspicious people in the town have been investigated, nothing found. We are here at the night station, face to face very few people. Zai Wei has been lying on the ground, and he feels the fluctuation of magic in the underground of the arsenal, very slight. Ziwei directly launched the mental power to look underground, penetrate the layers of obstacles, and find the source of magical fluctuations. 11 Wei's move clearly caught the attention of others, and Eric's Cavaliers asked, the deputy head of the group, this is. Forgot to introduce, Sylvester Frost, a powerful magician, is the master who invented the metal sharpener. The master is so young, it's really, the Eric Knight, who had been informed for a long time, suddenly realized. After continuous search, Ziwei finally found the culprit in stealing weapons and armor in a cave 20 meters deep underground. This is a strange magical creature with earthy skin, 5 or 6 meters long, but only the size of a football. It is now in a drowsy state, surrounded by metal fragments that have been smashed, and it is clear that this strange magical creature likes these sparkling foods. Masters have found thieves. Seeing that Ziwei stood up, Eric Knight asked quickly. Yes. A cute big guy? Sleeping, Ziwei took the crowd out of the arsenal and walked nearly 100 meters to the southwest, then stopped. Nan, Z. Ziwei began to sing the mysterious syllables. These syllables are the most important part of the magic spell. The energy of the earth element in the air is gathered by Ziwei, and this pure energy goes to the ground, as if a pair of invisible big hands have opened the water surface. The original flat land has separated a crack from it. This is not a spell on Gatlin's magic book, but the application of Ziwei to the 4 basic elements of fire and feng shui. Obviously, this magical creature has the ability to walk freely through the soil. If you can't catch it before it gets alert, then you will lose it. Finally, the crack stretched out more than 10 meters, only 2 meters deep from the magical creature's lair. The magical creature in the drowse seemed to be a little alert. It turned a lazy waist, set up a small head, opened a pair of small black eyes, and erected his ears to start scanning. 11 Wei did not dare to stun the snake, he stopped the move at hand. What? Natalia asked curiously. This is a very clever big guy, it seems to give it some more tempting snacks. Ziwei took a bottle of metal sharpener from the zero space, essentially a liquid alloy that was blended. As if to smell something delicacies, the magical nostrils in the caves shrank fiercely, and closed their eyes and began to go straight up. In the induction of Ziwei, the magical fluctuations of the unique elements of the earth suddenly increased. All the rocks and soil where the big guys passed were separated in advance, as if they were the precursors for the king. In the magical application of the earth element, this big guy is already instinct, far more powerful than the talented Ziwei. Just 3 seconds later, Natalia seemed to perceive the situation. She quickly pulled out the saber and looked awkward, all back. There is a monster rushing up. Welcome to the book readers. To read the latest, fastest, and hottest serials are available at mobile users. Please read. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 105. A huge shadow in the sands of the sand flew in the face. Natalia activated the enchantment of the wind of the epic Sword King. An invisible wind barrier blocked the shadow. The wind and sand dissipated, and the monster finally showed its whole appearance. It looked a bit like a collection of pangolins and squirrels, but it was more than 1 meter high and 5 or 6 meters long. Its body surface was covered with metal scales reflecting the bright light. Stretched out the slender red tongue, directly into the hands of Ziwei, to take away the metal sharpener. Ziwei turned his right hand and put the small bottle back up. He took a happiness of joy to the other party. Hey, the big man's small eyes screamed and made a lovely cry. The 2 clumsy front paws stretched out and wanted to go to the west. Ziwei pulled out another piece of alloy made of zero, and the sugar beans were thrown to the big man. The big man's long tongue was flexible, and the alloy was swallowed into the mouth, giving a squeaky chewing sound. The hardness of this alloy has doubled that of steel, but it is a good tooth to be eaten by a big man. This small piece of alloy was swallowed by a big man 3 or 2 times. It is obviously not yet full. The two thick hind legs will support the body. The two small front paws will be put together, and the head will keep falling together. In general. Ha ha ha, such a cute cargo, is actually a thief. Natalia put away the family sword, bring back the blue fort as my pet. That can't be done? It depends on who it goes with. Ziwei threw another alloy, and the big man flew and hugged the alloy and stuffed it into his mouth. This big man magical creature obviously has a strong earth element affinity and is very research value. Looking at Ziwei as if he was teasing his own pet's performance, Natalia was so angry that her chest hurt and her body hurt. Ziwei is exactly the one she invited to use the metal sharpening agent for the equipment of the arsenal. Obviously, he really grasped the hobby of the big man, and he could not give his family's sword to the big man as food. Ziwei patted the head of the big man, and the guy started to roll on the ground. Just call you, Ziwei named it unceremoniously, you are the mascot of the tower in the future. Hey, the big man stood up and shook off the dust on his body, and he was honestly behind Ziwei. After 2 magical hours, Ziwei and Natalia, who completed the metal sharpening work, embarked on the return road and left the town of Colorado in the farewell of the Eric Knights. He was lying on a big flatbed and basking in the sun. The car was carried by 4 horses. This is the legendary magical creature. Natalia wants to be more envious. You can make a big profit. Ziwei. The continent of Orient has already had civilizations for tens of thousands of years, and it is not a wild land. Therefore, there is no such thing as World of Warcraft. Magical creatures' instinct can control some magic, usually have a long life, can be said to be a very powerful creature, usually occupying a field as a hegemon. However, in the rise of mankind, in order to obtain the extraordinary power, many human brave people go to various secrets to kill magical creatures, get their blood through special rituals, and control the talents of these magical creatures. This is the case with the golden lion's blood of the French royal family. Therefore, every wild magical creature can be seen as a source of blood for a new aristocrat. Is still very young. It should have just been bred for a long time, Ziwei said with emotion. Zero has already secretly tested the cockroach. The cell activity in the body is very strong, and the body is still in a rapid growth period. So big one is still a child's body? After the real adulthood. Natalia suddenly laughed. Ziwei, so small can eat, I think you are afraid to feed it. Ziwei saw a small village in front of him. He turned and released a magic trick on the flatbed. This car became a truck full of bags of goods in the eyes of outsiders. Hey, the magician is really interesting. Ziwei, you said that I can be a magician, Missy came over and asked. Yes. But with the same effort, you will get 10 times more in the Cavaliers, Ziwei replied in awe. Cut, I really don't know if you are boasting me or hurting me. Natalia stretched out and let her body curve stretch out. I found that Ziwei, this person is always a fake. Seriously, it seems like how old you live. Are you a 16-year-old boy or an elf who has lived for hundreds of years? Ziwei smiled bitterly, and he seemed to be living a little tired. Although the body is young and youthful, the heart is no longer young. The state of fullness like Natalia seems to be what a true young man should have. Really enviable youth. Hey, why don't you talk? It's been said by me. Natalia got together again. You are very right, Nada, I want to be young today. Ziwei's blast was shot on the chestnut mare, the blue wind was wrapped around the horseshoe, and the reins were pulled in the hand. Then he rushed out along the road at a flying speed. Missy, let's ride the horse. Let's go to the Blue Castle gate first. The loser has to promise the other one. Ziwei's shouting was far from the wind. Damn, you play, you don't want to face. Natalia quickly rushed to the horse. Hanks, come on, charge. 2 whirlwinds galloped away, stunned and rubbed their eyes with their front paws, then turned down and squatted again. After half a magic time, outside the gate of the Blue Fort, Ziwei flew to the horse. Due to the roll of the wind and the floating, the little mare almost ran out of the speed of the Pegasus. However, Missy has already smiled and looked forward to waiting for him here. I am willing to gamble and lose, Ziwei. I have never seen such a brazen man. Ziwei glared at him. When you are riding a horse, you are actually riding a horse and running up. Is it a man riding a horse or a horse rider? When Natalia found that she was trying harder and farther away from the figure in front, she was so eager to pick up the popularity of Hanks to launch the king. Ha 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 ha, Natalia raised her hands on her hips and laughed. In one sentence, I won. You are not satisfied. You can, Missy, Ziwei has no choice. I won you. What is the count? I won, obviously I won. Missy eyes dribbled. As for the conditions, first write down, let me think about it and tell you again. Welcome to the book friends read, the latest, fastest, most popular serial works are available at mobile users please read. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 106. Back to the Blue Fort, Ziwei let the servant fill the large tub with warm water, then found the most comfortable position and sat in it. Although Zero can help him clear the dust and sweat on his body surface, it will make Ziwei more comfortable. After coming to this world, it seems as if there is always a whip behind him, and Westvima is rushing forward without stopping. I have forgotten a lot of important things in my busy life and forgot the position of a heart. I don't want anyone to be willing to walk with myself when I want to choose a lonely person to explore the long sea of stars. I still remember the young girl, cute and full of energy. She is willing to give up everything and explore the unknown universe with herself. But why is it rejected by myself? Yes, although my body was still young, my heart was old. No energy, as if everything is not so important, there is no love. Even if I came to the world to regain my life, I saw the fresh face of the young girls around me, and felt their tender and real emotions. I felt like I was getting nourishment from them, but my heart seemed to have not followed the body is young together. What do I need to do, what I have to do, what I should do, never what I want to do. Life can be more interesting and life can be more exciting. Ziwei finally smiled. This time it was not a gentle smile, not a gratifying laugh, not a polite smile, not a bitter smile, but a smile from the heart, only a new sentiment for this moment. It seems that the old tree has taken out the new shoots. Just like a new life. At this moment when I completely emptied myself and enjoyed my inner joy, Ziwei felt that her spiritual power was like the spring bamboo. The section grew, showing the part that should have been hidden in the shadow. This is an unexpected harvest, and it can be said that it is unintentional. The barriers that could have been touched seem to have disappeared into invisible, and Ziwei feels that the road ahead is once again a smooth road. The obstacles of the three-ring magician have dissipated. The next breakthrough, you have to play the part of the wind and the soil in the heart of the lake. The door of the thoughts that belong to the wind has been created by marl grass. As for the soil, I want to come and fall on the body. Ziwei grew up in the bath barrel and then grew up. The water droplets on the surface of the hair and skin were instantly evaporated, and the new clothes were put on. Ziwei was once again energetic and entered the working state. Start the production of the Arcane Missile Staff 1.07. In this production process, Ziwei's craftsmanship seems to evolve again. He finally succeeded in completing the inscription of the Arcane Missile spell, and can be perfectly activated, only the last step of transformation. This is still a crucial step. Ziwei stood up and meditated in the room, meditating. Suddenly, he turned his head and saw that the 1.07 version of the Arcane Missile Staff was much like the prototype of a raw rifle. Aura shines. Think of the installed arcane crystal as a magazine, then pulling the trigger is equivalent to activating the spell model. After the trigger is pulled down, the arcane crystal can provide magic. The arcane missiles can be used to capture the magical elements in the air. Then the user can transform the magic and finally launch the converted arcane missiles. This user must be a magician, no, just a magic apprentice. In other words, your own design will allow a magic apprentice to cast a multi-layered spell of the arcane missile in a loop of spells. Zai is a novice newcomer in the production of magical objects, but he does not have the limitations of inherent thinking. He will throw away the rules that magical creatures must completely engrave the magic on the strange things, and disassemble this spell. The odd object carries a part, and the user himself completes the rest. Take the arcane missile spell. The magic is obviously very mental and magical, but the consumption of the magic transformation is not so big. Zai brain is running at speed, and there is no pause in the movement of the hand. He quickly assembled the 1.08 version of his magic missile staff. Zai came to the back garden with this new staff. Aiming at a tree in the distance, Zai gently pressed the trigger, and the magic surged from the arcane crystal, which activated the circle inscribed on the gun body. This spell model cancelled the elbow of magic transformation. More simple and perfect. When the magic gathers on the gun body and begins to bloom with a strong magical light, Xavier reads the spell that transforms the essence of magic, and the magical brilliance of the bright silver shines on the gun body. At the moment when the magic was completely transformed, Zai buckled the trigger, and the bright silver arcane missile flew through the narrow muzzle and penetrated the trunk 20 meters away. Success! Zai couldn't control the joy from the heart, and his face burst into a big smile. He raised his fist and became the left hand of the fist. This invention will change this era. This means that even if it's just a magic apprentice, you can use the spirit and magic of the original 10th of this spell to release a round of spells arcane missiles. The cost of training a magic apprentice can be simplified to a minimum. And the arcane missile is an energy attack, it can ignore the armor and penetrate the barrier. And when a small magic apprentice can make such a long-distance death-killing attack and more than once, then the revolution of war will come. Zai excitedly gasped, and he realized for the first time the true meaning of the staff, which can be called a magic gun. Of course, this magical gun is just a prototype. It is too extravagant to use the arcane crystal as a source of magic. Too long a magical transformation will affect the gap between the two arcane missiles. The array that is engraved on the gun body is too simple and delicate. Not easy to maintain. However, these are not problems. Always find a better solution. Zai carefully saved this magic gun. The arcane crystal was taken out. The previous shot consumed a lot of energy in the arcane crystal. Obviously, the arcane crystal not only provided the magical consumption, but also acquired a lot of energy from the activated array. In this way, each arcane missile is equivalent to playing out 10 French gold coins, but there is really no way to popularize it. So how to improve? Zai thought of the elemental affinity test stick he made. So can you complete the charging of the already consumed arcane crystal? Arcane crystal is a natural energy carrier, which can be said to be a high-energy battery in the magic world. As long as the original disposable battery is converted into a rechargeable battery, when it is not used, it will charge the energy inside, so the consumption will be minimized. Zai's eyes flashed in front of the light. As long as this technology was broken, there would be no hindrance to the establishment of an army composed entirely of magic apprentices and armed with magic guns. Perhaps this unit can be named Arcane Core. Welcome to the readers to read. The latest, fastest, hottest serial works are available at mobile users. Please read. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 107. The early morning Ayacho Magician Guild was not as clean as usual, and almost all the magic apprentices who came here to study gathered in the apprenticeship, waiting for the upcoming moment to change the fate. On the lawn outside the guild, the children who are about 10 years old and their parents are already densely packed. They are dressed very neatly and look very good, they are thin and sloppy, and there are no nobles. Children who inherit blood, children with small staff, children with businessmen, and children from poor people. Their skin color, looks, wealth, and destiny are completely different, and the same is the hope in their eyes. For these families, as long as the child can be selected by the Japanese elf magician from the Yangju Islands, it means a turning point in family fate. Although we have awakened the magical talents, but we can only spend a lot of money on the magical literature on weekdays, a little bit of casting materials are precious. Those apprentices with instructors are simply flowers cultivated in the greenhouse. But the opportunity is coming, a mysterious and powerful elf magician will choose disciples from among us. I don't know if apprentices who already have a mentor will regret it. The two apprentices in the apprentice district whispered, and the one who spoke sneaked a beautiful girl reading the book in the corner. It's really pretending. This girl is Mrs. Winchell's disciple, Miss Nightingale. She has already got the news that she will follow the mentor to study at the tower. This will be so calm. The team from the Blue Fort finally arrived, and the knights of the Bonaparte family lined up in a neat queue to guide the road. If the Ziwei in the weekdays is like a gentle warm wind, then Ziwei, the magician of the Japanese elves, shines like the sun in the sky. His face is so beautiful, his temperament is also noble, so that almost everyone all are self-defeating. The master is here, the master is coming, the crowd rioted and let the passage open. Ziwei walked down the expensive carriage and came to the gate of the Magician Guild. He turned around and said to all the people on the field in a slang, "Time has arrived, and now we are starting today's admission assessment. You are all children without a magical foundation. As long as they can enter the state of meditation under my guidance, even the first step is passed." Compared with the conditions that allowed the meditation state to stay in the tower for 7 days, Ziwei's current conditions are harsh. The knights dismounted in a neat queue, separating all the children who participated in the test from their parents, family, and friends. With the gestures and guidelines of Ziwei, these children sat on the ground and closed their eyes. Lucy Marty and Tom Deebs were present in the marriage contractor, and they were much older than others. The sun is very warm, the sky is blue and washable, the breeze is smooth, it is a good weather. A soothing music began to reverberate throughout the space, and the music was so soft and natural, as if to return to the most comfortable sleep. Ziwei used a combination of peaceful peace and emotional field spells to help these testers eliminate all distractions. Keep your mind clear, mind and body. The first step in meditation is breathing. The second step in meditation is to diverge and empty the brain. Everyone is following the guidance of Ziwei seriously, and even some adults are unwilling to try. When all other aspects are prepared to the fullest, mental strength will be the decisive factor in whether or not to enter the state of meditation. Today, there are 124 children who are 10 years old. Although they work very hard, there are still a large number of people who are asleep. There is also a group of people who do their best and cannot enter meditation. They can only open their eyes with anxiety and anxiety. In the end, there were only 21 children who entered the state of meditation in this guide, and Lucy and Tom were among them. Although Lucy did not awaken the blood of the Marty family, her mental strength is still higher than that of ordinary people, so it is easy to enter the state of meditation. As for Tom's situation, it is a bit strange. The tumor in his brain has been taken out. His mental strength is high and low, as if a rope that has been shaken is constantly fluctuating. Very good, you passed the first test, you can follow me. Parents, please stay outside and wait. Ziwei gently pushes his hands, the invisible wind rushes out, and the children who have not passed the test are gentle. The launch of the cordon composed of the knights. The winners and their families showed a happy smile, while the losers and parents were frustrated and many children cried out. The hope of changing destiny is shattered. Wei had long passed with the old master of the Ayacho Magician Guild, calling Erditch, and the green gate at the entrance to the guild was open. A large area of the hall after the entrance was temporarily separated and used for testing. Use. The original more than 30 magic apprentices in the guild all came together, curiously watching this test. Just as I Wei tutor once and for all hundreds of people into meditation, it is really amazing, a brown-haired young man said with emotion. Yeah, meditation requires the deepest level of relaxation and tranquility, but just as many people outside have not interfered with each other, they have entered the real relaxation and tranquility. This is amazing. I really want to see how the Westway mentor can detect the magical affinity. 21 primary winners were lined up in 3 teams. The first child of each team was sent a long transparent crystal rod. Hold the end with the sensor and relax. After seeing the 3 men complete the preparation, Wei began to condense the magic elements, condensing the magic elements of a large area into a small test area, where the magic elements are already rich enough to light up the magical aura. For a moment, the crystal sticks in the hands of the first 3 children burst into light, and the crystal stick was engraved with 100 marks. The passage in the crystal rod of the first child is filled with 1/3, shining with a blue light. 33 points, water element affinity. The channel in the second child's crystal stick is filled with more than half of it, shining with khaki. 62 points, the soil element is friendly. Is it convenient to ask your name? Meryl, who volunteered to take down the record task, asked. After discovering this fun toy yesterday, Meryl naturally tried it first. Her wind element affinity reached 100 without suspense, and the whole crystal bar was dyed light blue. This is a test for children who haven't touched the magic. If the standard is too high, it will hit their confidence. As long as 60 is qualified, 11 Wei smiled and patted Meryl's shoulder. Lucy Marty's score is a fire element, 76 points, and Tom Deeb's score is 88 points. This excellent result caused a whisper of the onlookers. Faintly can hear the voice of Deeb's idiot Tom. Welcome to the readers to read. The latest, fastest, the most fire serial works are available at mobile users. Please read. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 108. These 21 people quickly completed the test and 9 qualified. 11 Wei has chosen 2 more outstanding spiritual strengths from the unsuccessful candidates. The 11 people have a higher upper limit on the magical road, and they still have cultivated value. Wei's own strength is improving step by step, and it is impossible to become stronger in the short term, but the construction of the territory is in a critical starting period. Relying on more than 50 magic apprentices and more than 100 ordinary people in Caprea, the grand blueprint can't be built. Corsica is the closest place to Capra Island, and Wei has established a good relationship with the Bonaparte family because of Meryl, which means that Corsica will be able to transport towers. With a lot of resources and manpower, Wei is laying out every day in Corsica, without wasting a trace of time. This is a necessary stage for the construction of the tower in the heart of Wei. If it does not come out and is stuck on a small island, the tower cannot develop. Imagine that in a mountain ditch or on an island, there is no one to have a black and white technology. It is a daydream. The 11 apprentices who are about to join the tower and their parents happily registered their names and ages, and then received a 0 printed admission notice and admission instructions. After sending away this lucky group, Wei began to recruit the existing magic apprentices in the Ayacho Magician Guild. These people have become magic apprentices for whatever reason, and their qualifications are relatively excellent. They are also the most valued talents in Wei. The interview work for these people was all personally responsible for Wei, and everyone talked for a short time, and made a serious analysis of their situation, mentality, and thoughts. Not only in the future of magic, character and human heart are also very important links. Screening out half of the unsuitable candidates, Wei finally chose 14 magic apprentices to join the tower. The best of these apprentices are Miss Nightingale and Lista, who are already high-level magic apprentices and not too far away from the official magician. A total of 25 people were recruited for this admission, and Ziwei was very satisfied. He talked with the old master of the Ayacho Magician Guild, Clinker, about the conditions, and the magicians trained in the tower will register at the Ayacho Magician Guild. The old master has begun to think about a bright future. If it is not the duty, he will follow Ziwei to see the tower. Unfortunately, the best of these apprentices is similar to Charlotte's qualifications, but the geniuses like Yang and Meryl have not met. Finally, all the tedious preparations were completed. On the second morning after the enrollment test, the noisy vocals on the port of Ayacho broke the silence. The future magicians reluctantly bid farewell to their parents and family. More or less baggage walked onto the ship's side and entered the cabin that had been allocated long ago. This ship was the original Greeting Wolf, which was simply modified by the Bonaparte family and is now renamed Friendship on the routes of Ayacho and Capraia. Operation, round trip every half-month. The couples of Lucy Marty and Tom Deebs appeared almost at the same time. Their fathers, Baron Marty and Lord Deebs, smiled. Baron Marty was forced to marry her daughter to a fool. Very uncomfortable, now the future son-in-law is not only cured by Master Ziwei and Bishop Frank, but also has the talent to learn magic. It turned out to be a good woman who can't be better. I do not know how many small nobles are in the Marty family. Only Lucy still couldn't see the fat Tom. She wore a warm red dress and hugged goodbye with her two good sisters. She couldn't wait to embrace her new life. On the other side, the sisters Natalia and Meryl are also saying goodbye. Do not worry, little girl. You are always with your mother at home, and the route will be opened in the future. Ziwei should come often, isn't it? Natalia persuaded her sister. Because of the shadow of the things 7 years ago, the Countess was reluctant to let her little daughter leave, so Meryl had to reluctantly bid farewell to Ziwei. As for Natalia, she had a great interest in the high towers of Ziwei and her sister's mouth, and she did not like the boring life of being at home all day, so she became the first guests of the tower. In the morning of the 8th magic, accompanied by a long, high-pitched horn, the Friendship slowly accelerated, leaving the port, gradually disappearing into the eyes of a group of people, heading for the mysterious tower. Are the target left? A middle-aged man dressed in a black cap gentleman lit a cigar on the dock. Yes. The number 1 goal and the number 2 goal are on the Blood Wolf. This ship should sail to the second nest of the target. The wolf is also held in the prison of the number 1 family. The protection is strict, a brave man dressed as a dock porter responded. Dare to do our hands on the hungry wolf on the sea, so much so that we don't put us in the eye. Count Bonaparte is the master knight, our head is also the master warrior. It seems that we must give them enough lessons. The middle-aged gentleman has a cold in his eyes, is the water ghost following them? Yes, I want to find the oldest goal of the second goal soon, the strong man nodded. That's good, don't rescue the wolf first, so as not to alarm the other party. You must let the other party's blood debt pay for it, in order to wash away the shame of the sea-hungry wolf. The middle-aged gentleman extinguished the cigarette and left the dock quietly. Friendship was originally a sea-plundering ship, the speed is very fast, and the corresponding cabin capacity and comfort are somewhat poor. However, this time the passengers plus the sailors did not reach a total of 100 people, and the goods were not shipped too much, so everyone was properly placed. The most spacious captain's room is now quite crowded, just because of the presence of a big man. The hustle and bustle of cockroaches is here, Zero is jumping around on it, feeding from time to time, playing is not a pleasure. Ziwei marked the specific location of Capraia on the chart and helped the captain to determine the safe route, which was the way he came. Even at the speed of the Friendship, this voyage lasted for more than 3 days, and Ziwei was relieved to begin to teach all apprentices a simplified version of the tidal thoughts. Being on the sea, the tide is rushing, and it fits perfectly into the environment of title and meditation. On this road, 25 magical apprentices, big or small, have 9 people who have mastered the idea. This efficiency has already been very high. Finally, on the 14th day of Ziwei's departure from Capra Island, the grey wall of the tower was suddenly appearing on the sea level in the distance. This voyage is finally over. Welcome to the book Come and Read. The latest, fastest and hottest serials are available at mobile users. Please read. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 109. Since the 5th day after Ziwei left the tower, every day during the day there are guards watching the distant sea at the lookout whistle of the tower. Although Yang and Charlotte are also fully committed to the daily life and teaching of this tower, everyone, including both of them, seems to lack a sense of confidence. Finally, on this day, a sea boat with huge sails came far away. The guards of the telescope made before the departure of Ziwei saw the Ziwei on the bow deck. The crisp ringing sounded on the tower. Yang terminated the course being taught, told Lyndon to maintain order, and went to the dock with Charlotte. The Friendship No finally docked on the dock. For the first time, Yang and Charlotte saw wearing such a luxurious costume. The whole person looked like a dazzling Ziwei. He didn't know how to open it. I am now the identity of the Japanese elf magician. I will explain it to you after I go back, Ziwei told the 2 men by means of communication, and then directed the new apprentices to leave the cabin with their luggage. This is my newly recruited high tower apprentice, arrange a dormitory for them, and clean up those rooms that have not been used for a long time, Ziwei told Charlotte. Oh, I asked about the smell of sulfur and lava. Is this? Miss Natalia put on her favorite safari, with a clear facial features, this kind of beauty with a plump atmosphere. Male still women are inevitably dumped by their amazing charm. Let me introduce you, this is the warlock who awakened the blood, my assistant, Miss Charlotte. Charlotte, this is Meryl's sister, the Bonaparte's Missy, Natalia, said 11 Way. Although Charlotte is still wearing a fireproof cloak with a silver mask, her stunned figure can't be blocked. It is a very attractive beauty at first glance. My ancestors may have come from the abyss, bringing out the smell of sulfur and lava. I am really sorry, Charlotte apologized, but his tone was not so polite. With Natalia's strength, she can naturally see the true appearance of Charlotte through the silver mask. She did not show her disgusted expression, but smiled slightly and extended her right hand. Charlotte held the gloved hand and Natalia, and the two warmed up. When everyone walked down the cabin, Ziwei told the good guys to carry the goods here. He turned and shouted to the apprentices behind him, "Go along the road, the tower is our destination." The staff in his hand waved gently, and a blue-green wind blew in. A pale green halo emerged at everyone's feet, and everyone's body seemed to be lighter, and the heavy luggage seemed to be a breeze. This is the result of the recent research by Ziwei, the second ring spell group blast. This is Yang, my deputy, a very good magician, Ziwei introduced to Natalia. Hello. Miss Bonaparte, I am very glad to meet you. Yang's attitude is not humble, not far from being maintained. His observations were excellent, and at first glance he saw the invisible smoke that permeated between the two women. It is obvious that this Meryl's sister is not as harmless as her sister. The group returned to the tower. Yang helped to settle the newcomers and guests, and Ziwei led Natalia with the 6th floor of the tower. This is the core of this mage tower? This door is really interesting, Natalia asked curiously after the 6-story door that needed to be opened to close the door. No, this is far from the level of the master tower, Ziwei explained. The master tower is only qualified and capable of being established by a high-level magician who has reached more than 5 rings. The master tower usually has intelligence. Managed by Tailing and the Guardian. The truly complete master tower can even fight against a master of the master class. If it is really a master tower, then I am afraid it is impossible to overthrow Gatlin's rule. So, "Will you build a mage tower here?" Natalia asked with a wink. "Of course. It will be a paradise for the magician, a real college and home." 11 Weijin shines with confidence. "Welcome the owner back." Cynthia girl Cynthia, who was dressed as a maid, yelled at Ziwei and said in standard lingua franca. "Well, it's an unexpected surprise." Ziwei turned and looked at Charlotte. "Is your credit?" "I taught for a long time and taught 3 sentences." Charlotte turned red. "Welcome the hostess back." Cynthia shook her big tail and paid tribute to Charlotte. "Ha ha ha," Natalia laughed loudly. Charlotte's blush is hot and straight down to the ground. 11 Wei is also very embarrassed, but then the big man helped him out. "Hey," the big man walked in with 2 thick hind legs, and it was close to the werewolf girl, circled around her, curiously stretching her nose and sniffing. The werewolf girl Cynthia had a big round of eyes, and she seemed to understand the big man's words and communicated in a language that no one could understand. Ziwei used to use language for himself, but still couldn't understand the words. He didn't expect the werewolf girl to communicate with him. There are a special and noble profession among the orcs. They are called shamans. They can communicate with their ancestors and souls. Perhaps this werewolf girl has the potential to become a shaman. Natalia Shines tells the information she knows. There were still a few empty rooms on the 4th floor, but there are so many apprentices, there is no place, and you can only arrange the rooms you live in here. Ziwei said to Natalia, "Choose one what you like the most." Charlotte licked his mouth, but did not say anything. 11 Wei turned around and said to Charlotte, "You have worked hard during this time." A simple sentence, but Charlotte's nose is sour, tears almost flowed out. "I have mastered a spell and should be able to heal your wounds," said Westway warmly. "Take off your mask, okay?" Charlotte took a deep breath and unveiled the silver mask with his trembling hands, revealing the still smeared scarred face. Only a pair of beautiful eyes are full of expectation and craving. 11 Wei sighed softly, and the palm of his hand had already condensed a starburst, and the silver moon was launched. The right hand gently touched the girl's face, and the faint silver moon glowed around her fingertips, slowly infiltrating the girl's skin and entering her body. Charlotte felt the numbness and itching of her face. Although this feeling made her very uncomfortable, her heart was already delighted to the extreme. Because her face was not before, her skin all over the body did not feel any touch. Under the brilliance of the silver moon, the scar on the face of Charlotte slowly healed. Natalia has already picked the room, but at this moment she is just standing quietly, watching this magical and warm scene. Welcome to the readers to read. The latest and fastest, the most popular serial works are available at mobile users. Please read. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 110. Charlotte's wounds are extremely horrible, and the demon blood in her body is also constantly resisting the glory of the silver moon, making the difficulty of treatment greatly increased. Ziwei successively displayed more than a dozen silver moons, which consumed most of the magic, which completely cured the wound on Charlotte's face and neck. The fresh skin is superb, with a hint of pink in the white, which looks beautiful. "Hey," Natalia applauded, "Miss Charlotte is the most beautiful person I have ever seen." When she looked at the thrilling beauty of Charlotte, a heart seemed to be hit by a beggar. The blood of the devil not only brought pain to Charlotte, but also brought her a strange beauty. When the scar was cured, all the ugliness dissipated, leaving only this unique beauty, which made her beauty completely extraordinary. Beyond the mortal's ultimate. If this is a game, Charlotte's charm at the moment is at least 20 points, which is even more brilliant than the Japanese emperor's disguise. The blue water mirror appeared in the palm of Ziwei, and Charlotte clearly saw his present face. The beauty is not square, but it is many times more beautiful than the previous one. The tears that had been suppressed were finally rushing, and the suppressed feelings were all cast. Charlotte was tightly wrapped around the waist of Ziwei, crying on his shoulders, releasing the fear and pressure from these days. 11 Wei gently patted the girl's back and gave her comfort. Natalia admired this pleasing scene, but somehow her heart was a bit sour. Let's make you laugh. Miss Natalia, this time, Charlotte, standing in front of Natalia, found her lost courage. She became mature and elegant, bringing a powerful atmosphere. Natalia naughty squinted her eyes. I want to feel the hug of such a beautiful beauty, she said, and she held Charlotte in her arms. Well, you two talk more for a while, time is tight, I still have to do a lot of arrangements, I will go out first. Ziwei walked out of the door. Natalia and Charlotte eagerly pulled hands. The two sat to share each other's stories together, as if they were real sisters. Ziwei has many tasks and is very cumbersome. However, with the help of Zero, the overall arrangement is very organized. Under his command, all the personnel and materials are properly arranged before sunset, and the chef of the tower is ready. The most delicious dinner. In the hall on the first floor of the tower, more than a dozen round tables were placed neatly. The magic light illuminated the whole hall like a white house. Almost all apprentices and guests dressed up and attended this welcome with a smile on their face. Dinner. On the innermost table, sitting on all the distinguished people, Sylvie, Natalia, Yang, Charlotte, Mrs. Winschell, Captain of Friendship, Loudon, Adjutant Bowl, and the vain manager Ryan. The busy servants put a sumptuous dinner on each table, and the deliciousness that pervaded the entire hall. Everyone has a wine glass in front of them, filled with red wine. Ziwei picked up the wine glass and stood up and scanned the entire hall. Tonight is a festive night. The tower has greeted 25 new apprentices and welcomed all sincere friends. Let us drink fine wine, not drunk. Return. Everyone raised their glasses and sipped them. The wines prepared for the magic apprentices are all fruit wines and will not affect their minds. The entire tower is filled with joy, as if celebrating a grand festival. The dinner lasted for 2 full spells until the night was deep, and all the apprentices converge on the Flying Heart and return to the room to begin routine meditation. Back to the 6th floor of the tower, Yang reported to Ziwei about this time, while Charlotte was pulled into the guest room by the enthusiastic Natalia. When Yang left, Charlotte didn't come out of Natalia's room. Ziwei smiled and walked into the lab. This time, Ziwei is going to do the overall planning of Capra Island. This kind of work similar to municipal engineering must be done as early as possible. Now the tower is already crowded, and it is unable to cope with the future. What's more, this desolate island seems to have disappointed some new apprentices. The spatial three-dimensional map of Capra Island was completed early in the morning, and it was completely presented in front of Ziwei. This is my territory, and I am the master here. The most important of the islands are 3 places: towers, mines and piers. As Ziwei continues to add modules to this spatial three-dimensional map, the island becomes more and more prosperous, more and more lively, with an epoch-making beauty. In the end, there is almost no useless land on the entire island of Capra, and numerous functional and artistic buildings have turned the entire island into a real island of dreams. 11 Wei finally nodded with satisfaction. This is the dream home of his heart, cultivating and spreading the cradle of Arcane. However, the current strength of Ziwei is still too weak, and there are not many changes that can be made at present. With the support of the tidal ocean and the land of fire, the magical growth of Ziwei is rushing forward, and the peak of the second ring magician is not far away. Now it is important to have a better understanding of the earth element meditation door, and strive to complete the development of wind and earth in one time when breaking through the 3-ring magician, and perfect the balance of the 4 elements. Thinking of the scene of the werewolf girl Cynthia and the cricket exchange, Ziwei gave birth to a look. After completing the planning of Capra Island, Ziwei is no longer confused about the future direction, and the island will soon have a chance to take off. Wei has mastered all the two-ring spells in Gatlin's magic book, and is now conquering the last two-ring spell, the Barrier of Heart in emotional magic. In the open time Zero helped Wei inscribed a lot of emotional feelings in the body. The land of inscriptions has become enormous. In the foundation of emotional magic, Wei has gone far beyond Mrs. Windschell, which has also brought enough growth to his mental strength, but the effect of this method is getting weaker and weaker. The barrier of the heart is to strengthen the control of various emotions. When this control is reached to the extreme, it will form a layer of barriers on the soul level, resisting the attacks of most spiritual levels. At this moment, Wei let go of the control of the land of inscriptions, and all kinds of complex emotions almost came to mind in an instant, and forced Wei to the edge of madness. These emotions are so real and strong that Wei is almost impossible to resist. At the crucial moment, Zero once again gathered with the soul of Wei to help Wei resist the endless impact of the sea. Wei strives to resist this shock, keeps the consciousness clear and the inner ethereal, and does not know how long it has resisted. Finally, the clouds are open to the moon, and all the emotions engraved in the body are all vented, without any hindrance. At this moment, the inscriptions in the body of Wei are completely dissipated. These various emotions are integrated into the body of Wei and perfected into his body. The complicated emotions can no longer affect Wei, and the barriers of the heart are new in a moment. As if it is diamond-like and sturdy, this is the barrier of the heart, the perfect control of the sublimation of emotions. Slowly withdrawing from this state of harmony, Wei sighed. The inheritance of Mrs. Windschell is obviously a precious gift, but I don't know how to repay it in the future. Welcome to the readers to read. The latest, fastest and hottest serials are available at mobile users. Please read. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 111. Early the next morning, Friendship started to return, but Natalia did not board the ship. More time to stop, Wei asked. Yeah, Ayacho is a very quiet place to be suitable for the elderly, a constant life, day after day busy, really cannot find even a little interesting thing. I have put the entire Corsica. The non-human forces that can be annihilated have all been cleaned up one time. Looking at it, there is no opponent that can fight a battle now. Invincible is really a kind of loneliness, Missy said with a sigh of relief. 11 Wei looked helpless and had nothing to say. The returning friendship number is almost empty, and only a small number of high tower specialties, magic lights. The raw materials of the magic lamp come from the associated veins of the arcane crystal mine. These translucent jade materials show blue, green, red, and yellow according to the different elements. They can fluoresce for a long time and illuminate a room. Not a problem. The magical elements in these associated ores are too rare to be used, but they are natural lighting tools. The fluorites collected over the years have been piled up in abandoned pits, processed uniformly by Zero and equipped with metal with manufacturing modules. The beautiful iron base turned into a magic table lamp and a magic hand lamp, which was a lot higher in the moment. This batch of magic table lamps and hand lamps are each of 400 pieces, large and small, and can be placed under the opaque cover to shield the light and count as a switch. Such magical luminaires are obviously much better in terms of aesthetics and safety than the usual oil lamps and torches, and they also have a very good effect in wild adventures and travel. The main sales targets are nobles, big businessmen, and adventurers. Therefore, the price of one of the 20 and 15 gold coins is tentatively set for the Bonaparte family chamber, and the final retail price will increase by about 50%. The lamp sold for 14,000 gold coins, but Wei did not get the money. Instead, he entrusted Friendship to purchase a large amount of herbs, seeds, vegetables, food, books, and building materials. In the planning of Wei, the future towers cannot all be archons, and the arcade masters are similar to the scientists of previous life. It is enough to have one of the 100 magic apprentices to become a future arcane master. Most people will receive education here, and finally become the manager responsible for specific affairs and the practitioner of the magic-related industry. Magic will be widely used, and the products of the magic industry will benefit everyone, and eventually change this era. After bidding farewell to the friendship number, Ziwei shouted the werewolf girl Cynthia and the big man to the wilderness on the island side. Charlotte and Natalia also curiously followed. Ziwei gave himself a familiar language and used Cynthia as a translator to communicate with him. You can drill the ground at will, no effort. You are very hungry, you want to eat more delicious. Cynthia put her ear to the small head and translated the meaning of the cockroach. Take this piece of land in front of you and it will be eaten for you. Ziwei dropped a lot of metal alloy, which is the favorite taste after testing. Cynthia posted the past telling the words of Ziwei. The big man nodded again, and it jerked a drill, as if the diver jumped into the pool and got into the ground. Nobel's body was unstressed, and the fine scales shimmered with a faint yellow glow. The barriers are all separated and instantly turned into soft soil. It is a desolate wilderness that has never been cultivated. The underground is full of large and small stones and strong obstacles. However, under the tumultuous turn, it becomes a fertile land in a short time. Fossils are mud. Your own talent is equal to such a 4-ring spell. And it seems that I like the feeling in the earth. It is comfortable to change its movements in the soil, and there is no hard performance. When Yu was swimming in this wilderness, Ziwei opened the eyes of the silver moon and penetrated the earth to observe the magical changes that occurred in the cockroaches. Although the Eye of Silver Moon is only a 0-loop spell, it has a strong growth. Ziwei now uses the Eye of Silver Moon to penetrate the surface to understand the internal changes, even if subtle changes are sharply noticed. The use of earth elements is superb, just as eating and drinking is already its instinct. The eyes of Ziwei's Silver Moon will record all the changes seen, while the zeros are responsible for analysis and dismantling, less than a time of magic. 11 Wei has a deep understanding of his talent instinct. Ziwei showed a satisfied smile. Which is the excavator technology? With the embarrassment, the construction of the island can be further accelerated. Cynthia, from here to the coast, I have marked the plot, the red line is the border. The middle of the land needs to be smashed, this will be the future nursery and herbal center. These metals are its ration, if not enough feel free to ask me or Charlotte to apply. Ziwei handed this task to some cute werewolf girl Cynthia. Okay, master. Cynthia responded with a standard lingua franca, which is the last of the 3 sentences she has mastered. The big man is also a good player. When you think about siege, send a big man to the past and smash the opposite wall directly. It is not the effort of the soldiers. Natalia is envious. Miss, you know that the pile of metal is the product of how long I have refining it? The big man is still growing up, not good. Ziwei quickly dismissed Natalia's attempt to turn away. That's also true, Miss nodded. Your territory is still too few people, especially adult men and women. Also, don't be too relaxed, be careful of the aggression of the hungry wolf on the sea. 11 Wei stopped and turned to look at Natalia, smiling slightly. Sure enough, this is the real reason for your stay. Well, even if it is. The Sea Wolf King has been in the Golden Sea for many years, but it has been proved that the Master of the Warrior, inexplicably ate such a big loss, it is impossible not to retaliate. I have a father in the Bonaparte family, he dares come to Ayacho, let him eat a big loss. The friendship number is too conspicuous, it is likely to be touched by the other side. Since it is the pirate division that I annihilated, then this responsibility I naturally have to bear. The end, Miss Ang said with a look that does not care. You are such a good person, Natalia. Ziwei sent a good card to Missy. Good guys or something, it sounds strange. What is your expression? What do you mean by good people? You can tell me clearly, Missy. From the stunned to the stunned, all the way to chase the Westway plan to ask the bottom welcome. The majority of book friends come to read, the latest, Fastest, most popular serial works are available at mobile users please read.